The United States has invested more than $60 million on clearing landmines and UXO in Cambodia over the past 20 years. Me, Admiral Samuel Perez, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, paid a visit to Cambodia and Laos in the past few weeks to see results from the operation over there. Rear Admiral Perez talks to VOA Khmer Men Kimseng in Washington about the trip.
Good afternoon, Rear Admiral Perez. My name is Kimseng Man from VOA Khmer Service. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you after your trips to Cambodia and Laos. I understand that you met some stakeholders while you were in Cambodia related to landmine. What's your assessment of the demining operation in Cambodia?
Well, we did have a chance to meet with the Cambodian Mine Action Center, the director specifically, and I'll tell you, my assessment was that they have a very, very good program. It's clear that the government of Cambodia has thrown some very talented and very energetic people at this problem. I think that they have a great plan. They have probably one of the best national databases that we have seen, and it really was a pleasure to work with them.
I understand that over the past 20 years, the U.S. has invested a lot of money, $61 million through various technical groups. So you think how long will Cambodia be free of landmine?
That's a very hard question to ask, and I'm not sure that it's the right question to ask. Perhaps we may want to look at this a little differently. The right question to ask is, when can we make Cambodia impact-free? If you take a look at Western Europe, Western Europe still has ordnance that was left over from World War I, 100 years ago. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that Western Europe has come up with a means and a method so when they find this ordnance, they know what to do and they know how to make it safe. So the first step is obviously clear those areas that have mines that are a hazard to people that we know are a hazard. And then the next step, utilizing that national mine database, is to go ahead and once after we clear the mines, is to put in place procedures and educate the public so that when they do come across a piece of unexploded ordnance or a remnant of war, they go ahead and know that they're not supposed to touch it. Don't get that for scrap metal. You leave it there, call the experts, and the experts come in and make it safe. That's the difference between clearing vast stretches of territory that may not need to be cleared and clearing the pieces of land that actually pose a risk to people.
And how much economic impact that you've seen from this clearing so far?
We saw economic impacts right off the bat. We went to go visit a village, and this village had probably 12 to 15 families at any given time. There were some families that were moving in and out. And we had just finished clearing a piece of land that we had given to those families, and that piece of land was able to support 6 families. So 6 families were immediately able to derive an economic benefit from the piece of land that we had cleared, and we were clearing more. So what does that mean? That means that as families come in, it won't overtax that village, and they'll be ready for the increased benefits that they get from more production.
Talking about this, I look at Cambodia, and this is one of the countries that can turn its crisis into opportunity. Right now, Cambodia is sharing its experience with countries in the world by taking part in UN peacekeeping operation, demining in other countries. What lesson can we learn from that?
Well, I think the lesson that we can learn is that Cambodia has a very strong desire to share the lessons that it's learned. As a matter of fact, they approached us and asked us if we would be interested in helping them sponsor a regional training center. That regional training center is something that, with interest from around the region, that we could bring in other folks to share experiences with unexploded ordnance and demining, as well as underwater. They have just built, the Cambodians have just built a very nascent underwater ordnance recovery unit that is doing some fantastic work.
One question that campaigner always asks and want Cambodia to do is to sign the anti-cluster bomb treaty, and so far Cambodia has not signed it yet. So can you tell what the advantage or disadvantage of being part of that treaty?
You know, I didn't focus that much on the cluster munitions treaty. We were really focusing on how we could better help, you know, what else we could do to help tailor the problem at the biggest problem that we see, and that's the landmines. You know, when you take a look at how many landmines were sown and the vast magnitude of the problem, for instance, you've got landmines that are on these sections of hills that are covered with vegetation that can be used for maize. We saw the hillside right next to it that was growing maize, and as soon as this other section is going to be cleared, they're going to plant that with maize. So we really focused on the landmine issue and not on the cluster bombs issue.
Okay. Some research have pointed out that the U.S. dropped between around 2.7 million bomb on Cambodia during the Vietnam War, but still failed to stop the communist Khmer Rouge from taking over the power. And until now, we face the consequences. People killed and people still maimed until today. And so, what lesson can we learn from this?
Well, I think the lesson that we should learn from this is that war, it doesn't matter when the fighting is. Everybody loses in a war. People will lose sons and daughters today from both sides. Are there things that we must go to war for? Yes, of course. But everybody's going to pay a very, very high price. And unfortunately, those prices don't stop when the treaty is signed. In every war that you've seen, you have unexploded ordnance, you have remnants of war that still pose a hazard. And I think the lesson that we take from this is that we have to partner with the countries after the fighting stops to make those countries safe. And we take that as just something that our country is committed to doing because it's the right thing to do.
Our last question, Admiral, I know you went only to Cambodia and Laos, but recently the U.S. just gave 5 fast patrol ships to Vietnam. So what's the state of military cooperation between the U.S. and Vietnam right now?
All I can say is right now is that our cooperation with the government of Vietnam is growing. And we see Vietnam as a very, very valuable partner in this part of the world. We certainly appreciate the openness that they have shown us, and we look forward to increased cooperation.
Thank you so much, Admiral, for talking to VOA Khmer.
Thank you.